Hi everyone, welcome to the first ever joint talk series between the alumni of State University of New York at Buffalo and the alumni of University of Southern California. The theme of today's show is navigating startups through economic turbulence. But before we begin, I would like to invite both alumni chapter president for their opening remarks. Pak Eri Rekso Projo from University at Buffalo Alumni Association Indonesia Chapter, and Pak Lucky Prawiro from Alumni University of Southern California, Indonesia. Welcome, Pak Eri and Pak Lucky.
Thank you.
The stage is yours.
Thank you, Donnie. Selamat sore, Pak Lucky Prawiro and all the friends of UB alumni and University of Southern California alumni. I'm happy that this event is finally taking place. The title is, I think, timely with the period that we're now in. But I think nevertheless, let's just learn from each other, share our own experience, and I hope this session will benefit everyone, not only those who are running startups, but friends who are professionals working in big companies. There's always lessons to learn. We know that it may be challenging for some of the startups, but I still do believe that if we can navigate the company, the operations of the company in the right directions, I think we're gonna make it. I wish this is going to be a continuous session and will be a useful session for everyone. And thank you for friends of USC alumni. We hope we can collaborate even more in the future. Selamat menikmati, and thank you for everyone.
Thank you, Pak Eri. Pak Lucky.
Good afternoon, Pak Doni, all the guest speakers and the friends from the Alumni University at Buffalo, Indonesia, and also from the Alumni University of Southern California, Indonesia, and all other friends. I'm Lucky. I'm the president of the Alumni USA Indonesia for 2019-2021. On behalf of the USC Alumni Indonesia, we would like to say thank you very much to all the guest speakers, to all the committees, and to all the participants that already participate and make this event happen right now. It is our great pleasure to host our very first Alumni UB Indonesia and Alumni USA Indonesia webinar. We have a greater than expected number of audience afternoon. After this webinar, I believe we will be more inspired and aware in delivering our goal and objective through this virus pandemic turbulence. Like the old people say, the calm sea never result in strong sailor. Ya, laut yang tenang tidak menghasilkan pelaut yang handal ya. So it means that people need to be challenged once in a while. So the challenge that we face right now is actually going to make us stronger, will give us more persistence and more endurance in the future. So by this event, let us all learn together. Let us all face this turbulence together in a correct way, in a right way, and in a wise way. I guess that's all from us. From the Alumni USA Indonesia, we thank you very much to everyone for this opportunity. We wish everyone for the best of health during this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Eri and Pak Lucky. As you might know, starting any startup is never easy. Starting a startup, technology startup, is even worse because there are so many unknowns, the technology, the acceptance, and so on. So for every Grab success story, there are probably hundreds, if not even thousands, of startups that failed. And in 2020, there is an even greater challenge as a result of pandemic. In Indonesia alone, we have seen Airy Room, Stoko, and Etsy have closed down their operations. To discuss how the startups can navigate through this tough time, we have assembled several expert panelists. First, we have Bu Sarah Dewanto. She is the founder and managing director of Duit HP. Duit HP is a fintech company focusing on the unbanked. Duit HP has received several awards from APEC Global Innovation Competition in Chile and Seed Star Best Startup in Indonesia. Please welcome Bu Sarah. Our next panelist, we have Pak William Utomo. He is the co-founder and COO of IDN Media. IDN Media is the largest content platform in Indonesia with 50 million plus unique users. IDN Media is working to democratize information and ultimately bring positive impact to society. William has received multiple awards for his work, such as Forbes 30 Under 30 and from Tatler Asia. Welcome, Pak William. Our next panelist is Pak Jeffrey Paine. He is the managing partner for Golden Gate Ventures, where they invest in early stage technology companies in Southeast Asia. Previously, he was a director in the Founder Institute and advisor to Sydney Seed Fund. Welcome, Pak Jeffrey. Lastly, we have Pak Rizky Kramadibrata. He is the president of Grab Indonesia. He has more than 20 years experience in managing companies such as AirAsia, Bakri Telkom, and Smart Telkom. Welcome, Pak Rizky. We will begin our first presentation by Bu Sarah. Bu Sarah, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Donnie. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'd like to thank the alumni USC Indonesia, as well as the UB alumni Indonesia. And this is really great that we're able to do this together. So without further ado, I'm gonna start and share my presentation, if you don't mind. Okay. So. Okay. So I want to share a little bit about us and how exactly like COVID-19 has affected our business. So just a little an introduction of what Duit HP is we provide e-payments for the unbanked. And why is this even important? It's because in Indonesia, the majority of Indonesians don't even have bank accounts. So making mass payments is extremely difficult. This is what it looks like. This picture that you see is what making mass payments to the unbanked looks like. It's very unsafe. It is difficult to account for because everything has to be in cash or in goods. So that was the reason that I built Duit HP is because I found this problem myself when I managed a $600 million fund from the United States government to Indonesia to reduce poverty here. And it was so hard, even though we had the bank with the largest network, the only way we could get the money through was to bring cash and luggages and distribute it by hand. And so I thought that was just crazy that we couldn't do it with all of the resources we had, with the $600 million, 2 governments backing us up, and the bank with the largest network. So I said, okay, there needs to be a solution. So I resigned and founded Duit HP to develop a solution for this very problem. So Duit HP is now the leading player in digital aid distribution and enabling our clients to make massive, safe, efficient payments with high accountability. And our solution is designed to meet the needs of the poor because that is the one who we want to help. So we use facial recognition, and all they have to do is just show their face, put in a PIN, and shop, basically. No card, no phone, no bank necessary. So I'm going to show a little bit, a short video of how it works. So face, pin, shop. No card, no smartphone, no bank. So the recipient would come to a store. In this case, it's a food, a restaurant, a food store, a stall. And then the merchant would then scan the user's face. The system verifies the user's identity. And then the system then allows the user to put in their PIN. The user then selects the e-voucher that they're going to redeem, and that's it, transaction complete. So we call it setor muka. So now that is our business model. So it's a B2B2C aid distribution model. It starts off with a client where they provide us with a list of recipients. So these are our clients and they already know who they want to give it to. So they basically give us a list of recipients. Duit HP would then create an account and distribute the e-vouchers to the recipients. The recipients all just need to go to these agent stores and redeem it. And then the agents, they then sell their goods as aid and receive digital payment through Duit HP. And for us, we gain monetization from fees, both from the client as well as from the merchant. And the benefit is tremendous. For the client, it's just so much easier. For us, we have low cost acquisition fees, and we have low cost acquisition and also gain fees. For the recipient, suddenly it's really, really easy for them to redeem because they don't need a card or a gadget, just simply their face. And for the agents, they get increased sales and also they gain a financial history. And the effects of COVID-19 to our business is that actually it has increased demand for digital aid distribution because one, suddenly a lot of people need aid. And then number two, people realize that they couldn't distribute aid in the same way that you would during normal times. And the other thing is that what it has done is that it has pushed us to upgrade our system to be able to run fully remote. And in fact, it makes geography completely irrelevant and makes our services extremely scalable and pandemic proof. As a result of that, we grew exponentially since COVID-19. We had a 150 GTV growth year to date 2020, so within the 5 months. And also compared to the month before COVID, our GTV increased 10x. So this is something that is the lessons basically that we took from this is that actually times of trouble can open new doors because a problem that is that truly needs a solution is actually a real opportunity for innovation. And what we've always believed starting with HP is that making a profit doing good is possible, that it is not separate between doing good and making a profit or doing a business, that social issues are actually a big problem and it's shared by a lot of people, and therefore it actually provides a larger opportunity for innovation and also for gaining scale. So in this way, aid is actually our low-cost strategy to scale coverage of the unbanked. We're starting now from aid, where we would serve clients like government, charities, and nonprofit organizations. But this is the starting point. We're expanding this to commercial payments as well, enabling payments of loans, whether distribution or collection, or other types of commercial payments such as payroll and payments to suppliers. And then the third vertical is data play, because like for all of this aid that we're giving, we know exactly what was bought. We know where it was bought, how much, and the type of things and the things that they actually use their aid for. So this could be very, very good information for banks and lenders, FMCG, and we could monetize that by gaining fee for consumer insights, whether it's for credit scoring or consumer behavior. And our aim going forward is we want to dominate the digital aid distribution in Asia. We've had the Office of the vice president of Indonesia as a client, Muslim Pro, which is the largest Muslim app in the world, Dompet Duafa, which is the largest zakat distributor, Muslim charity in Indonesia. And in the future, we're also servicing the Jakarta government, including for the COVID-19 Relief Fund, World Vision, as well as micro loan providers. And hopefully this will expand not just beyond consumptive aid, but then also productive and also commercial payments. So that's it. Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Okay. If anybody wants to contact me, here's my name and number. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bu Sarah. Our next presentation is Pak William.
Yes. Selamat sore semuanya. Pak Kiki, Pak Luki, Pak Jeffrey, Bu Sarah, Pak Eri, Pak Doni, dan Pak Martin, dan penonton di YouTube live streaming. Sebelumnya terima kasih banyak atas waktunya. Would love to take a few minutes to explain what we do, how COVID is impacting us, and what's going to be the future model of this. In short, IDN Media is a content platform targeting millennials and Gen Z. Every month we have about 50 million monthly unique readers. And since day one, since we started in the beginning 6 years ago, we only have one goal, that is to democratize information. This is the very, very first version, 2014. We started with 2 people, and now we grew to about 450 people. And fortunately, we have been profitable for the past 18 months. We started with only one single media brand, that is IDN Times. And if you guys can see on the screens at the very top, we have 6 media brands catering to 6 different target audiences. And in the middle, we have solution platforms, mostly for advertisers. In our case, Grab is also a loyal advertiser on us. So thank you, Pak Kiki and the team. And at the bottom that you can see, those are the tangent business supporting the media and solution businesses. By the numbers, IDN Times have about 51 million monthly unique website users. The content that we provide is news and lifestyle content. In the beginning, most of the users would be on the younger side, but as we grow, the user also grow with us in terms of age. Pop Bella is very unique, targeting towards single female, typically female 25 years old and below. So we cover content from beauty, fashion, relationship, and career. Pop Mama is for millennial parents, millennial moms, so it's a parenting media. We cover parents from expecting mother up to parents with 12 years old kids. So expecting mother, pregnant mom, first trimester, second trimester, third trimester, parents with baby, with small kids, and with big kids. So we split our core audience into 5 different groups. Yummy is a food media, mostly used by housewives in Indonesia. And GGWP Duniaku is an esports media and a casual gaming media with about almost 4 million monthly unique audience. And we grew from 0 readers to about 50 million readers using this framework. So we use this framework to grow audience and across our media brands. Starting from the very core, which is the content creation, and then publishing, And then the most important part, which people often forget, is actually the distribution. So creating a content is good, but distribution is as equally important as the content creation part itself. Moving forward, we want to merge all of the media brands that we have into one content app called IDN. And that is from the media side. From the solution side is we have IDN creator networks, which we are very proud to be one of the largest talent network or talent agency in Indonesia. So we have about 6,000 influencers. In Indonesia's case, influencers being Instagrammers, YouTubers, TV celebrities, and now TikTokers. We have worked with more than 80 brands, Grab included, Pak Kiki. And we are seeing this to continue to grow. And also, end of last year, we invested in a company and we started to do programmatic out of home. It would look like this.
IDN Programmatic OOH is the first internet and GPS connected out-of-home media platform, creating public-private partnership with the city we operate in. We utilize taxis and ride-sharing vehicles for distribution and sale. Our proprietary technology provides granular audience targeting from hyper-local location, time, weather, to dynamic content. We bridge your digital life to real life. Our innovation revolves around engagement and impact with emphasis on action. IDN Programmatic OOH. Smart screens for smarter cities.
So we put double-sided screens and we plant GPS and a SIM card internet connection on the screens, and we put it on top of ride-sharing vehicles. For now, we have 250 cars roaming around mostly Jabodetabek, and by the end of year, we hope to add the fleet to 1,000 cars. And we recently acquired a movie company called The Maestri Productions. Nugros and Santi is the producer and director, and we hope that we can release theatrical movie on the cinema and on OTT player in 2021. And also we do a lot of offline events because we believe that our readers need to connect on a human level. So aside from connecting through our app and website and social channel, we also connect with them on offline level. And this past 3 months, the impact of IDN Media in terms of readers, it has been good because the digital adoption rate is increasing. I still can remember on March itself, the traffic grew by 37% with us not doing any significant difference in our marketing. So we believe that people had more time. They spent more time on smartphones, and they just need content for them to be informed and to be entertained. But with our team member, we are trying to be as transparent as possible to them about the company situation. We let them know how we are doing, what is our expectation. Some of our division and team member are impacted because the business went down significantly, say for the offline activity. So what we do is we do not want them to get laid off. So we rotate them into other division. So fortunately, we have been able to do it. Yes, but we let them know very clearly in the beginning about the company's plan, creating very clear SOP, how to prevent of the virus contraction. If they get contracted, what the company will provide to them. So we cleared it very clearly in the beginning so that it provides a sense of safety and a sense of assurance to them. For our readers, I think as a media and a content platform, it is our obligation to keep on informing them. But what we do differently is we want to change the narrative. So instead of just updating them with 1,000 new people get contracted, 1,000 people are healed from the virus, somehow it creates a sense of scaredness. So instead of just telling them the numbers without context, because people will translate it very differently, we want to change the narratives by providing and explaining in a positive way, telling stories about how a person can survive. Because, you know, a lot of people, especially in the tier 2 cities, have a very negative connotation about this virus. So I think it is our job as a content platform to educate them and to consistently just churning out content to let them know that this is okay, this is fine. If you get contracted, this is what you should do. So changing the narratives is our focus. I think that is what we have been trying to do. And that is what we are planning to keep on doing, because I think our job is still far from done. So hopefully this can recover soon. And still, our mission as a company is to democratize information, and we will continue to work very hard to achieve this ultimate goal.
Thank you, Pak William. Next presentation is Pak Jeffrey.
Hi. Thank you. So hopefully you can hear me. So thank you to the alumni associations of UB and USC. I've been a USC alum for a while now, and I think this is the first time I've been kind of engaging quite a bit with you guys. So I'm just gonna quickly jump in and just chat. There will be no slides and no video from me. So the first thing is my name is Jeffrey Paine. I run a firm called Golden Gate Ventures. We are a venture capital firm. We invest, in early stage tech startups since 2011, and we invest around the region. So Indonesia is a big, a big chunk of what we do. We have the two biggest countries are Singapore and Indonesia, and then Vietnam is the third one. So some of the companies you may or may not have heard of. There's a Rumor that became GoPay, Tiny Hub, Hello Doctor. Recently GoPlay and Alami, etc. So those are the companies. We have over 15 companies in Indonesia. Check size wise, we do anywhere from 300K US to 5 million US. Different types of rounds, seed, pre-seed, pre-A, A, pre-B, depending. So it's kind of all over the place. So I'm just gonna highlight what we have been going through. So as a VC, so I can kind of share what we've been going through. I think you've been hearing from the founders. First thing first is for the founders listening. It's also good to understand what your investors are going through. So the first 3 months, it's firefighting and playing defense, right? So that's what we do. I think the founders are the same. So, so we are kind of like making sure that our portfolios are setting themselves up, for survival and making the cuts, making their runway last a little bit longer, so that that has been like most of the first 3 months. And then now I think most of us have started to lift our heads and started to breathe a little bit better. And now, deals are being done slowly, right? So now portfolios can also be thinking about playing offense now. So, your competition now is, maybe affected as well. Go to market might be cheaper for you now. So now it's also a good time for, founders to think about playing offense after, your defense is sort of set up, right? Kind of like playing basketball. From our point of view, valuations definitely went down. Number of companies raising from new investors went down. I think most of them are raising from internal, from existing investors. Then the last 1 month, the number of new founders came up, right? Of course, a lot of people were laid off. A lot of people were, taking this time to take a break. So some of them are starting companies. But however, the quality of ideas is not very good. That's another thing I don't understand. So I think we will try to figure out how to help them create better ideas. And of course, around the region, Singapore, I think, yeah, everywhere there are startups closing down as well, or merging, or doing like massive kind of either layoffs or recapitalization. So there's a lot of activity going on. So for us, what generally we try to do in the first few months is to over communicate. So I think founders probably have to do the same. Over communicate to your employees, over communicate to your investors, right? So for us, it's the same. We make sure that our employees are fine first, over communicate to them that everything, is A-okay. We have all the processes sort of set up, and then over communicate back to the LPs. So LPs are limited partners, which are investors of our funds, that our portfolios are, the state of affairs. So we have like a bi-monthly call with them to make sure that we update them on who's in trouble, what are we doing to get them out of trouble, and that kind of thing. So far, yeah, it started with maybe 25% were in trouble. Now it's probably down to like 1 to 2%. So that's after 2 months of like hard work, and the team kind of like focusing on helping every single portfolio. And then what is going to change? I think the first thing is doing due diligence for investors will change. So in the past, we fly like crazy, right? I think on average, I fly maybe 2 to 3 times a month, to meet different founders, etc., and to catch up with existing investments. So catching up with existing investments and doing board meetings over the call, I think we are pretty used to it by now. But judging people without face-to-face, that's a bit tricky. So I think my feeling is the next few months, new investors doing deals who have never met the founders will have a bit of trouble, meaning they will either not do it or they will take a bit of time to do it. So the good thing is we have an office in Jakarta, so we can kind of rely on my team to make sure that the on the ground duty is done properly. But I would assume a lot of other countries will be affected in Southeast Asia, because not many VCs in Singapore have actual offices in the region, like Thailand or Vietnam, for example. So that's going to be the new change. But otherwise, it's I guess it's a testing time. So for those of you who are starting, this is your first business, then this is an accelerated MBA for you, like complete acceleration. You'll be going through a lot of things that you've never thought you'll be going through, and that applies to almost everybody. Now, for sectors that are doing well, like some of them who have presented today, you still have to keep watch, right? Because if the overall economy goes down, then everything still goes down at some point. So I think planning every 2-3 months like, you know, have your forecast planning every 2 or 3 months. You need to do that, because the change and the rate of change of every country in the region coming back online is different. So Vietnam came back online, but because they are quite export oriented, they are also quite affected, right? Then Indonesia is getting a little bit into some trouble, but then you guys are a little bit more internal. So if you guys bounce back, actually you will bounce back faster than Vietnam does. So then the question is how, you know, how soon can Indonesia bounce back? Then the rest of the countries are somewhat stable, but yeah, but we still did not factor in potential, you know, potential second wave. So that's another completely different topic. So I think, yeah, just keep your heads down, make sure you are talking to founders. I know a lot of you may get into some depression issues. Please, you know, talk to fellow founders who are going through the same thing. Talk to your board, talk to your shareholders. Don't keep everything to yourself. Okay, so that's from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Lastly, we have Rizky.
Hey, thank you, Donnie. Thank you, everyone. And all the UB alumni and USC alumni is here. I would like to use a few more minutes here to share of what Grab has been doing in the past, and also in light of the COVID pandemic as well. And then I hope that I can share some information, but at the same time to get feedbacks from this session as well, from all of you. I know it's I second to what Jeffrey says, testing time. And actually there's a lot of uncertainties here, but I think it's a test that everyone should go through. In the past, Grab itself, we have gone through several challenges. I would like to spend a little bit more time in the first few slides to explain Grab. I know many of you may know Grab, but I think it doesn't hurt if I start with what is Grab. Grab is the first Southeast Asia decacorn. We serve millions of customers every day. So every day we serve many customers across Southeast Asia, across 8 countries, in over 341 cities. The numbers keeps on, you know, adding every time I make presentations. So not only we serve millions across Southeast Asia, but we also happen to be the home. We are a platform, the home of micro entrepreneurs. Not less than 9 million micro entrepreneurs across Southeast Asia are getting their income stream through our platform, serving millions of customers every day. Indonesia is our important market, definitely. And in Indonesia itself, we're currently serving in over 236 cities across Indonesia, from Sabang to Merauke. That is literally from city of Sabang to city of Merauke. And then in these are 236 cities, we have not only our drivers, partners, but we also have many micro entrepreneurs serving, like food merchants, kiosks, many of them serving customers every day. And from this 236 cities, not only we're serving transport and food deliveries, but we're serving them with many of our services. It is also the fact that we're now connected with Indonesian's airports. We have official cooperations with 24 airports across Indonesia, making people transport seamless, not only within the cities, but also across cities, helping them to do their economic activities, mobility across Indonesia. And then the question is, how did we get here? I mean, like, how do we get such extensive reach toward customers and our partners, micro entrepreneurs? I think it's all boiled down to our dreams. Our dreams and visions is to connect people dreams. From the very beginning, we have a humble start. In Indonesia, when I started about 4.5 years ago, I had to let go my corner office, by the way, for pardon my language, but quite a shitty place. It's a ruko in the South Jakarta area. Literally, it's ruko. It's a 3-story, but it's ruko. And I think it's just a group of people there. I remember when we started, maybe about like 30 to 40 people there. But what was so strong back then is that all of these 40 people, we had that dream to actually deliver values to our customers. And then across our histories, that's what we keep on delivering, consistently delivering to customers to make their dream realized. Whether it's a simple dream of, getting from point A to point B, from home to school, or from office to their customers' locations, to the dreams of, getting the foods that they wanted, to the dreams that they wanted to actually to get a medical service that they would like to get. And then also the dreams of the micro entrepreneurs. I mean, like many of them were jobless. We had a survey that ran in 2018 and 2019. Not less than 35% of partners that is hosted in Grab's platforms were previously jobless. Either they were, laid off, or jobless before, or they were doing nothing. So I think we were able to actually to get them into productive micro entrepreneurs. And then we started from a humble beginning only by delivering transport services, mobility services. But we have become right now what it's called everyday, everything super apps. What is that? So we're not only delivering transport to you, 2 wheels and 4 wheels, but also food deliveries. We can also deliver items, deliver goods, by your orders. You can actually book hotels. We have electric vehicles in the forms of 4 wheels, 2 wheels, even e-scooters. You can book tickets and many others, health services, insurance, and you name it. So this has become a much richer dreams that we're realizing to people, and we stay true to that value, that our visions and missions is to make your dream realized. Now to the COVID pandemic. I know it's not easy. It is an unprecedented situations in the modern times, I think. Maybe many of you have read that in the past, and in the circa 1918, there was pandemic, also Spanish flu, but situation were much different at that time. People mobility is not as, as massive as it is today. But also at the same time, technology has also enabling people to stay productive, very much different from the day that we had that time. How do we continue delivering or bridging dreams of people, name it the customers or our micro entrepreneur partners during this testing time? It's not easy. I think we had to go some brainstorming, communications within leaderships, communications also to our board as well, and then running some survey as well. But right now, what we're doing, what we're implementing in coping with this situations is basically comes down to 3 pillars. Number 1 is protect our partners' livelihoods and pivoting our service. Number 2, strengthens our protocols in light of the new normals. And number 3 is collaboration. So let me go over a little bit of those points with you. So number 1 is protecting our partners' livelihoods, and also by pivoting around to our new needs here. You know that in light of this pandemic, people have changing needs. Maybe it's not as much as the changing needs that will happen during, war time. But you can see that people needs for example, luxury goods is somehow now decreasing. And the needs of basic needs, basic foods, basic items, increasing quite significantly. In the first few weeks of the pandemic, I remember even, people were getting difficulties in getting, for example, rice, and also hand sanitizers and tissues. Tissues were, luxury at that time, because people, it's very hard to get tissues at that time. But then you can see there's a changing needs of people. They're not so much in mobility anymore, obviously, because we're restricted to actually not to actually to go even within the cities. Even though now it's relaxed a little bit, but the advice is still actually to be as much as possible, stay at home or reduce your mobility. But people needs of getting their needs delivered to their home or to where they are, it's actually increasing quite significantly. Not only we have to actually to pivot our service in delivering to deliver the changing needs, but also it's needed for us to ensure that the well-being of our micro entrepreneurs partners are well served. Because if their mobility service is declining, then we need to fulfill with some other services. Utilizing our fast network in terms of drivers and also merchants, we are pivoting our services. We now just recently launched during this pandemic what is called GrabMart and Grab Assistance. What is basically GrabMart? GrabMart is basically the service where you can buy your daily needs. You go there, you have a list of merchants, I think starting from medium to small merchants. But what's unique is that it's focusing in your proximity. So it's actually faster to get what you need, and it's listing all the basic needs that you will need. However, I know, and we know, it's impossible to list everything that's around you. There's always a chance that actually you miss one or two or maybe more. That's why we deliver also, we launch another service, what's called Grab Assistance. So with Grab Assistance, actually you have more flexibility. The merchants doesn't have to be listed in Grab platforms, but you can direct people, actually, you direct your drivers to go to certain areas, to certain place to buy what you need. But then you will have to list down a little bit about what you need and then approximate price and approximate weight. So we can recommend to you which type of partners or drivers that would serve you, whether it's 2 wheels or 4 wheels. Then you can get a 4 wheels. If you have relatively heavy items to pick up, then we'll send, or large size, then we'll have to send Grab cars actually to deliver. Another thing to pivot our service is that we are refocusing our recently launched telemedicine service, which we call Grab Health. Fortunately, I have to be very honest, we launched this Grab Health just by end of last year, sometime in the circa of November 2019, just before or just right on the time of the COVID spreading in China. But at that time, I think very few of us realized that how impactful it will be for countries like Indonesia. Now, fast forwarding into the COVID pandemic in Indonesia, this has become a crucial service, not only for the customers, but also for governments. For customers, why this? Because now, like many of you, if you get sick, then you probably think twice or thrice probably to go directly to hospitals or your doctors, because then you get the risk of being contracted with the virus. So to address that, you could go to Grab Health first. It's within the app, and then it's very seamless. And then you could get advice, and maybe you could get solutions from there. It's also helping governments as well, because it's reduced the utilizations of medical facilities, clinics, hospitals, because then you don't have to go to hospitals. You know that during this pandemic, hospitals focus in servicing customers is focusing in COVID-related disease or complaints or symptoms. So this helps two sides, and then it works well in both sides. Number two that we do during this pandemic is to ensure, because people now, consciousness of people towards safety and hygienic factor is increasing significantly. You can't afford to question whether you want to go, using Grab car or Grab bike. Is it safe for me, or is it minimum the risk that I will get from COVID virus? So we ran several activities, definitely, and several measurements. Grab bike was halted by the government for a certain time during the early PSBB, but right now during PSBB transitions is being reenacted. But then we'll have to cope with the customers' needs to ensure that it is safe. in the beginning of the pandemic, we launched what is called contactless delivery for food delivery and items deliveries. That we were the first one that delivered this, ensuring that we communicate to drivers and customers that they're able to get their items delivered with contactless delivery. So you can get instructions, you can actually give instructions to your drivers, and your drivers will value it. Sorry, will follow it. Now, in light of the new PSBB transitions, we launched what it's called Grab Protect. So you could get a service of Grab Car, specifically a Grab Car, you could select Grab Car Protect, where it has the plastic separations, where it's limiting your contact with your drivers, or the opposite, drivers to the passengers, minimizing the risk of virus contractions. Also, the car is provided with hand sanitizers. It's ensured that it's all wearing masks. We also recently launched what is called Grab Bike Protect. It is also carrying a plastic partitions. We innovated this during the pandemic as well, and then we have launched it in thousands of the Grab Bike partners, and soon we will be launching its own service. To grabbers as well, I think I also echo what Jeffrey says, that offer communicating, it's very, very important. In fact, just before I joined this webinar, we just ran an all hands to thousands of our grabbers, making sure it's well communicated, what is our plan, and then how do we cope with this together. It is very, very important to get them, engaged. To technology companies like Grab, doing video conference meetings, I think it's a norm already to us. But having 100%, almost 100% of such procedures, it's also a new area for us. Many of us maybe got tired also with the fact that we never met our fellow grabbers, for example. So we run also so many, training, coaching as well, professional run it, and then hearing input from grabbers, what are they complaining, and how do we cope with that, and giving tips to them as well. Lastly, our third initiative is that we see that it is very important to have collaborations, co-creations. I mean, looking back at the pandemic in the 1918, I mean, like, you think about government those days, I think they were very dominating. I think their reach will be to many, many aspects of the economy and what people's lives as well. These days is different because government is not so much the main engagement maker with people. There's a lot of the roles of private companies, and the name it startups as well, using technologies and using our reach as well, that we could actually collaborate. So government and private sectors could go hand in hand. And throughout few weeks of this pandemic, we ran so many meetings with governments, and we came up with few initiatives. So number one, we just recently launched together, I mean, like, there are 6 startups, technology startups that is engaging a lot with millions of micro entrepreneurs. We run what is called Bangga Buatan Indonesia. It's an initiative by the government and private sector, especially technology companies. And now I think it will be expanded to many private sectors as well, to enable micro entrepreneurs to become to be part of a digital ecosystem, because it runs under hypothesis in which I think it's quite valid, that once UMKM or micro entrepreneurs gets into digital ecosystems, not only they become more resilient, but also their growth is better compared to the offline micro entrepreneurs. The next one is using our technology, latest technology. We help also government in solving the problem. If you heard Wisma Atlet, I think it's an area that used to be a home of a host of the Asian Games athletes. The government converted the areas to become Rumah Sakit Darurat, emergency hospital. It's quite a large complex. There's 7 towers. 4 towers is utilized for hospitals and the host of the medical assistants, medical staffs in there. So we provided what it's called our Grab Wheels, and 100% electric vehicles in the form of e-scooters, helping all the medical assistants there for their mobility. The next initiatives that we run, of course, related to Grab Health, we cooperate, we join forces with the Ministry of Health, not only in making sure that people are not only well aware, but utilizing the recommended telemedicine by the Ministry of Health, but also we run several social activities in rapid testing, free rapid testing, PCR testing for medical staffs, medical assistants, and also to our drivers. And President himself has announced that telemedicine is key to treat patients, especially during this COVID pandemics. I think that concludes my short presentations. I know that we can't control externalities, but we can always choose how we respond to it. I know this is an unprecedented situation, but we've gone through many of this. I know this one is a bit more challenging than the previous one, but together we can overcome this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pak Rizky. Let me begin with easy questions first. I like the words that Jeffrey used, playing defense. So to all the panelists, what kind of defense do you use during this pandemic time at your company?
I can start first.
Yes,
no one,
go ahead.
Okay. Definitely what I told you before, there's actually a lot of, we need to pivoting our service, but very, very much important. This is what I just told to grabbers as well during the all hands, that we need to be focusing. You don't have the luxury actually to go to many things at this point of time. You need to know, you need to assess what services, what areas that we're good at, and we have the advantage that we can address the needs of the people and focus toward it. And just by focusing to it, you're ensuring that people will be focused in delivering certain areas, but also you're focused to delivering what is scarce at this time, sustainable. You have to ensure that your business is sustainable even during this testing time. You need to make sure that by focusing, you are delivering the growth that is needed by the company, addressing the needs of the people and your ecosystem, but also at the same time, you run things efficiently. So only with that, I believe, and Grab believes, that we can overcome this. Thank you.
Bu Sarah, William, Jeff?
Yes, I think during the working from home announcement, we know that moving forward, it will be a different time to live in. So from the beginning, we tell to our people that about job security, because what they want to know at the very first hand is what about their jobs, or are they impacted? So we want to set that very clear first in the beginning. And then secondly is the health procedures. Those two things give reassurances, give them psychological safety. And third is telling them to adjust to your new working style. Because business KPI are still going to be worked on, but we want to make sure that those two matters are being resolved in the very first place.
Thank you. Sarah or Jeff, feel free to jump in.
I think for us, I mean, we were very fortunate that actually during this very difficult time that what we did was what is actually a good solution. And so from here, the way we're looking at this is that during this difficult time with so many people having, how can we actually help not just like our staff and our people, but then also, for example, our beneficiaries and also the agents. And that is what we've been trying to focus on, is regardless of the situation, how is it that we can actually enable them to to actually increase their income, and they have actually their incomes have boosted because of the aid, but then how to do so also safely. So I really had to think about, and that's why we had to upgrade our system and really figuring out on how we can continue to do this, but with making sure that all of our staff, all of the agents, and all of the beneficiaries are safe. So we had to suddenly think of a whole new procedure, upgrade the whole technology. And but it's actually looking at it as an opportunity, made it really helpful and great for us, saying like, okay, and then now suddenly this pandemic has enabled our agents to increase their income, and for our beneficiaries to suddenly get life-saving aid that they otherwise wouldn't be able to get. So we're really happy that technology has and like quick thinking on the feet has enabled to make this happen.
Thank you. Jeff, any last word?
No, I think for the defense for VC firm, the first thing is definitely, job security, because that's the first thing that, your employees will ask. In Singapore, where we are based, the health issue, the health protocols are pretty straightforward. I think the government is pretty strong there. So that's not as critical. Then, as you guys may not know, we survive on management fees from our investors, right? Where we call down the money every so often. So we call down money every, sometimes 3 to 9 months, depending on how fast we're investing. So we have to, right away make sure that the LPs that we have are secure. They are not in trouble themselves, so that they cannot commit to investing in our fund. So there's so we are trying to internally assume the worst, right? Assume 30% of them cannot invest in the fund. What will happen then? And then we have to do some drastic cost measures. So I think we did our some cost cutting, but it was just something that we should have done a while ago. And then when we over communicate and do the one-on-one calls with the LPs, everyone seems to be fine. It was just a shock, in terms of the public sector markets, but they have enough reserves and enough money to move around, and enough money that they have set aside for alternative investments like VCs. And then in Singapore, obviously our stimulus package is quite forthcoming. It was like the moment they announced, you can apply right away, and you probably get it in like 2-3 weeks. So that also helped, in terms of budgeting, etc. And then while we are doing that, then we started to play a bit of offense, because there are investors now, especially now, you will see, that want to invest in startups if it's a good price, right? So now money is coming, and now they're all hunting for good deals. So we are also setting up some kind of a sidecar funds for people who wants to invest in companies that they like. So actually money is not disappearing, it's kind of like moving around and picking and choosing what they like.
Good to know that money is not disappearing. But I want to ask this question to the panelists. If your startup is in the industry that's totally hit by COVID, say tourism, what do you advise to the startup? Do you advise them to just ride it out, or do you tell them to pivot to a different industry? Pak Rizky?
Well, we don't invest in startups that run in tourism, but we do partnering with some of them. We have booking.com and Oyo actually in our platforms. Definitely there's a steep decline in that area of business. I think it's no secret as well. It's very much impacted. I think at this point of time, what is needed is, number one, it's lengthening the runway. Definitely, I think as much as possible, you cut you cut your fixed cost, because it's really quite uncertain at this point of time of how long this will impact. I know several, not people, yeah, but analysts says there. Some of them says that they'll be rebounded end of this year, but I think it is safe to say that it'll be extended for quite some time, because not only it needed the virus itself to be addressed, but then we need to restore people's confidence in travel. Then I think it'll be quite impacted for quite some times. So number one, making sure you lengthening your runway. Maybe pivoting also a good way. I know that recently we ran an initiative with Kemenparekraf, Ministry of Tourism and Creative Economy. During that initiatives, we actually provided Grab car protect services to those some of the hotels. We learned that the hotels are pivoting their businesses quite interestingly. Maybe it's not, I think it'll be too much to expect that it'll be rebounded to the level that they were before. But I think some sort of pivoting will really help. Maybe addressing some fixed costs or addressing some of the investment that they have made before. Interestingly, in the case that I've had with the ministry and some of these hotels, they were pivoting their business. Number one, they become the host of the medical staffs of the nearby hospitals. Number two, they utilizing their food capability in making them an active food merchants instead of passive food merchants to their guests. So they're reaching out to many more customers. They're now actually utilizing food delivery platforms like we are to reach out to many customers outside. They don't have to go to their hotels, to the premise, but they actively selling the food services. They're also doing some bulk food services to people in needs. It could be, hospitals or government entities. So quite interesting that I see. I know it'll not be bouncing back their revenue to the level that they were before, but I think it's enough to lengthening the runway. That's my piece of voice. Thank you.
Thank you.
We of course sympathizes with our advertiser partners, especially those who are in the airline industry and online travel agents and hotels. What we did is to help change the narratives so that maybe early next year, when customer has regained their confidence to travel again, they can get back on track on regaining their old customers. So I think that from a media standpoint, we're helping by changing the narrative.
And how do IDN, cut costs? Is there any other measures that you yourself use to play defense?
Maybe I think we are fortunate enough that we do not have to stop all of our growth plan, but we do become more cautious and to double down on things that are working.
Okay. Sarah?
I think with regards to this is with regards to pivoting, I think it is inevitable, I guess, in the startup world, even within like our service there was an increase in demand, but still we had to completely pivot of how we did our business and completely rethink, okay, we used to do it this way, and then suddenly you can't. We would actually have work with socializations where you'd have like hundreds of people together. You can't do that anymore. And then so I think it's just inevitable in whatever situation. This is probably more extreme, but that you have to adjust with the situation. And I think especially that's anybody who has been in a startup or even founded a startup, that's just the way it has to go. But because there's still demand out there. I mean, people are not stopping to eat. There's things, and then really thinking about of what is our strength, and then how can we adjust to these new needs, and shifting and pivoting the way we've been doing things, whether or not it's a small shift or whether it's a complete pivot. It depends on how severe the situation is, but big or small, you just gotta.
Okay. Jeffrey, do you advise them to pivot, or do you?
Yeah. So there's a few things. One is if business is down by, let's say, 40%, 50%, and there is certain revenue model that is like subscription, right? And then some of your customers are still there. They want to, they want more software now. I think you guys would understand that this period, a lot of companies and SMEs, they want more software to make themselves more efficient. They want to digitalize themselves. So if it depends on how much you're affected by. So if you're in the OTA business or certain business where you're affected by like 90%, if it's a 90% number, it's very hard for you to cut your cost to 90% down and then just write it out, right? It's almost impossible. So then you have to pivot. So the pivoting can be different ways of doing it. One is let's say you are in OTA but then you have built your own, regional payment network. So maybe you can white label that and sell it to somebody else as a B2B product, right? So it depends on what you do, and some even completely left that company and just do web consulting, or just do consulting just to survive first, right? So it depends on the scale of how you pivot. But I think if it's a significant drop, you have to pivot. And when you do that, actually that gives you a chance to rethink, like, should I do something completely new, even though everything goes back to normal, right? This is a chance to actually think bigger, think something new, right? So it's actually a good problem, but nevertheless you have to fix it.
By the
Okay.
way, if I may, I have a question for Pak Kiki.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Pak Kiki, this is an organizational principle questions. Obviously, Grab is very successful. Many product lines, many business lines, many features. Me, myself, I'm a loyal GrabFood user. But do you have a certain framework of how and when do you kill a project or a product line that you think it's not working? What is the framework of killing a project?
Yep. I think as every day, even before COVID, I think we have gone through this process as well. As a everyday everything super app, also we have the luxury to actually to test portfolios into our platforms, right? And then have to be honest with you. I mean, I think someone mentioned it. I can't remember whom. In one success, there may be many failures behind it, right? And I think it's no strangers also to product portfolio. I mean, it'll be not honest for me to say that there's always be a successful products. As much as possible before we launch products, we run a tight procedures. Of course, number one is customers, definitely. So we need to actually to understand what customers do. None of us are genius as Steve Jobs, customers oriented genius. So we need to run our surveys. We need to understand what are their priorities and what are their inclinations towards certain services. Now with COVID, definitely I mentioned before, there's change of needs. Definitely some services are impacted. I think we have to be very honest here. Some of the services actually, it's actually beyond our control. You saw one of our video partners based in Singapore business is not working. So we have to actually to close down the business. But Beyond that, also there are business that we have controls on. There's a few areas that we could do. Number one is to channel our knowledge of the changing behaviors and changing needs, and as much as possible, push that change to happen, whether it's within your control or to your partners. Because without that, then the service will not survive. Because what customers need is certain things. For example, our grocery services, for example, it's based on the what it is, a scheduled service. I mean, in the normal time, it has its own advantages, because then people will have certainties. But during this COVID, you need to react quickly. You need to actually to be able to deliver your service better. In the first few weeks of the pandemic, our groceries will have a backlogs of customer orders because people are really flocking into that. So without the immediate change to that service, then we just set our fate to failure. So you need to have this communications of what is happening either within your control in the organizations or to external organizations. To our team as well, I mean, I presented a little bit about GrabMart and Grab assistance. There needed to be some organizational restructuring in order to actually launch that service. Again, what we have in mind is customer oriented. Of course, Grab's ability to serve customers is very much in our focus. Number two, our stakeholders, in which are the micro entrepreneurs, the drivers, shares, and merchants that's relying on our platforms to actually to get their income stream. Understanding what people need, and then we quickly reviewing what we're able to serve our customers with, and then in what manners that we're able to do it. Very, very important. Some restructurings of the how service is being served through organizations, and what kind of service and technology that will be able to serve that, definitely is something really, really important for us to do.
To follow up on that, for the hook example that you gave, it's totally beyond Grab's control. But for the groceries part, I tried once. I think Grab was in partnership with Happy Fresh. And when the backlogs become so big, just because the demand are so big, do you demand your partner to grow the shoppers, or do you shift your current driver partners to become a shoppers just to build on the backlog and make customers happy?
First of all, thank you, William, for being our patron. Clearly, by your questions, you understand our products. You're a customers. Thank you so much. But yes, I think here in the event of such backlog, for examples, then you will have to solve it in few areas. Number one, of course, the technology itself. Number two, the operational backlog. And number three, also the process on how to do it. You mentioned about the shoppers. Definitely, it's one of the things that was solved. There are many, many areas in the process that needs to be sorted out during this pandemic, definitely. We have to go through together, and I think we're able to solve the problems. Yeah, but you're right. One of those is a backlog in which is operational areas, but also procedures and technology is also needed.
Good to see that there's a synergy between Grab and IDN.
I love IDN terms even more now.
Okay. There's many more questions that we need to go through. How do you communicate to your investors? I know a lot of them are panicky at this time and they want to pull out. How do you convince them to stay on? Sarah, Bu Sarah, Jeffrey?
Okay, maybe I'll go. So just be transparent. There's nothing, there's nothing new to that. So you've been reporting to us every quarter or every month. So just be transparent. What's been impacted, what you are predicting to be impacted, and then presenting the various scenarios, like the best worst case scenarios, if the cuts are going to be made, then be very decisive about it. One advice for people doing cuts, do one big cut. Don't do two small cuts. Do one big cut and then try to not do another cut for a while, right? If you do too many cuts, the morale of the company will be very, very bad. So, so don't rush in to do a cut that was not well thought through, and then you have to do the second cut, right? So take your time, make sure the cut is correct, and do a slightly bigger one, right? So that you don't have to do the second one.
Okay. Sarah?
Yeah, I would have to second that. I mean, with investors, is basically just being completely honest in our situation, and including, like, for our case, for example, that we're now actually, there's potential to expand, and then what does that mean? If because then suddenly our burn rate will need to increase, or whatever it is. That the way I look at investors is they're our allies, and they would be able to help us in terms of, okay, this is the way it is, this is where we need to go, and these are the things that we would need assistance on, and it is what it is, basically. So yeah, just being honest and being clear of where the company is going and what it takes to go there.
Okay. My next question is to Pak Rizky and Jeffrey. You can see that the valuation of companies are going down to the bottom. Do you do any acquisition at this time? Will you do acquisition?
Well, I mean, like, let me answer it first. I think combining acquisitions, looking at companies. We do a startup velocity ventures as well. We have what is called Grab Ventures Velocity. We review startups. We do assistance as well to them. We actually, with the aim for them to tap into our market in our platforms, name it from the consumer platforms, Grabs that you see every day, the drivers platform or merchant platform, or even our kiosk platforms. So we still be doing also that initiative. In fact, we're currently in the phase 3 of the Grab Ventures Velocity. Of course, focusing in areas where it's needed, especially during this COVID. I think logistics right now is the area that we're focusing into actually to review those startups. But since this pandemic, we haven't done any mergers and acquisitions. I mean, like, of course, number one, we need to re-strategize ourselves. We need to be able to focus in what we believe it is needed actually to go through this pandemic. And then we need to ensure as well that we are ready for example, a long-term pandemic impact if that happens. And then, of course, during this time, it's not our first priority to actually to be very aggressive in acquisitions. But definitely, even during this testing time, we'll always keep looking on the opportunity on how to actually strengthen our service deliveries and how we deliver value to our customers. We don't shut our eyes, definitely, but just to be completely honest also, we're also at the same time being quite cautious.
So I think back to the talk about playing offense, I think now obviously growing via M&A is one option. So it's not that we are telling the well-capitalized portfolios to go out and buy whatever, or I think it's a bit too soon. I think the good companies are still trying to get back on their feet, and the shareholders and the investors are still believing in them. So like great companies, they will be able to raise an internal round or a bridge round to last them for a while. But having said that, yeah, it's about preparing yourself. So sometimes you are growing market share, sometimes you are using this period to raise a round, whereas your competitor is not about not able to. And then I think M&As will probably come at the end of the year. Yeah. So in this interim, there will be a lot of internal deals being done, and then when things don't go the way it is, then I think the M&A conversations will start about maybe Q4 this year.
Okay. How do you see strategy changes as a result of COVID? Do you stick to your long-term plan, or do you change completely your long-term plan? Pak Rizky, William, and Sarah?
From Grab's perspective, we are quite fortunate. Even before this pandemic, we have secured a quite sizable, funding, and I think we have prepared for the long terms of funding, even without this pandemic as well. So now it comes this pandemic, definitely it comes handy. However, we have to be more cautious. Definitely, we need to be more cash conservative as well, and then reviewing our approach. As I told you before, really important for us to focus or refocusing our initiative and efforts to areas where we see we really create values on and addressing customers' needs. But in terms of the funding itself, I think we're one of the few very quite fortunate that we have a sizable investment already.
Sarah?
We are not as fortunate as Grab in terms of cash flow.
No one does, no.
But actually right now we are fundraising, and especially like what we do need to fundraise for is that, as I said, I mean, suddenly we have an influx of projects coming in, and we need the runway to be able to do all of them. So what was before somewhat smaller, now suddenly we have this surge, and we need investment in terms of being able to get these projects done. So that's definitely like one thing we're looking for right now, is we are fundraising just basically to be able to meet the current demand.
Okay. William?
Yeah, I think from the product strategy, this pandemic creates accelerate digital adoption rate. So what changes from us is, since we already understand how to crack context-based content, this gives us confidence to want to crack other type of content format, which is voice-based. So hopefully in the near future, we can launch a voice Q&A as a content format in addition to what we have right now.
Okay. Prior to COVID, there was a great, I guess, shift, for instance, from number of users towards profitability of the startups. Do you see that changes coming back, since now there are a lot more traction instead of profitability is the main attraction for startups?
In us, in IDN Media?
In IDN, in Grab, in Do It Happy, or in your case, Jeff, in your company that you invested.
Yes, number of audience grow. Number of revenue from advertiser declines a bit, because our advertisers is basically a reflection of Indonesian economy. So if their business is down, then they don't advertise. So in terms of profitability, we're still on track.
Okay. Pak Rizky, Sarah?
I think profitability has been the focus of Grab, I think, since the early days. I mean, you may not be actually thinking it's like that, but it is. I mean, like since the first days I joined Grab, profitability has been the main focus that we need actually to get. And of course, with the cycle of the funding, now that we're facing such an uncertain pandemic times, it's even more as a focus, I guess. And then and I think we have to be facing this reality as well, that sustainability is the key. I know that it has been the jargons for investors to invest in certain startups, that path to profitability roadmap as well. But I think it is really, really important these days that we need to be able to prove that it is the case. And I mean, like, beyond investment, beyond ROI or profitability, again, business needs to ensure that it can sustain its service for the long terms. That you can ensure that your value creation to your customers is actually long lasting. And then also it proves that your platforms could be the host, the home of many micro entrepreneurs because of your sustainability. So focusing on that definitely is something that we really paying a lot of attention to.
Okay.
Yeah, I think for us, I mean, definitely as well, we aim to be able to be profitable, and it hasn't been an easy path at all, but actually this is opening up the avenue where it is now clear how we can make this that now we actually have a product market fit, that people are actually paying. We do actually get paid by the clients and by the merchants, which before probably like digital aid was a nice to have, and then suddenly now it's a must have. And I think all that has enabled us to actually really not just, I mean, we never had money to burn. Like we can't go like grab and give 60% off or 30% off. We
don't do that as well.
But I mean, because we never had that luxury, we really had to like think hard. Okay, how are we actually going to do this, survive, and stay in the game? I mean, we've been around for some time, but it has not been easy. But this is actually the kind of like okay, we finally kind of like cracked it with COVID, that this is the product market fit and that actually works. So yeah, I mean, it's yeah.
Okay.
It's good.
Jeff?
Yeah, I think from our point of view, yes, there are, I think you guys know that there are companies that, they focus on growth and not on profitability, and they punt that out, right? They punt it out much later because they are able to raise, they are growing fast. I think that's probably not going to be the case anymore. I think everyone's asking, how are you going to make money? Is it healthy money, right? So I've been saying this when I speak around the region. The startups here are a little bit confused because high growth companies doesn't mean you can make money. And highly profitable companies doesn't mean you can grow fast.
Yeah.
Right. So there lies that issue with VCs do not know what private equity people want. VCs do not know what the IPO market wants. That's why you see a lot of funny deals going on. So I think now is a good time for people to kind of sit down and figure out, am I a venture type company or am I a private equity type company? Because founders are confused. They don't know. And our ecosystem is still young. Our investor pool is still young. Even investors don't know, right? So that's why you read about funny companies raising funny money. So all this stuff in this 6-9 months will slowly be a bit clearer, because investors will be a bit more honest about what they want, and then you will face reality. The founders will face reality very quickly, which means if you are a private equity company and you have raised venture capital at venture capital valuations, then you have some trouble as you progress along. Whether you are profitable or not, you will still face that problem. So everybody needs to understand that as they go.
Do you see any changes in how PE, VC do their valuation as a result of COVID?
Reality, they still don't know. Yeah, they still don't know, because I've been talking about this for a while, because the difference between PE guys and us is PE guys are looking at deals like 3 to 5 years out, right? And then their return is quite straightforward. Maybe 3x in 5 years, they are very happy already. But we look at deals 12 years out, right? And if you cannot give me 50x, I don't put money in. Right? And then we know, founders here, you know, your first 12 months, you also don't know what's going on. How can you predict the next 11 years, right?
Yeah.
So PE guys, they kind of know what they want. VCs actually don't really know what we want, right? So when we work together with founders, actually everybody don't know what's going on, right? and we figure out our way as we go. So that's why a lot of times, you know, founders, startups don't get there, is because we are all trying together. We are trying to figure it out together, right? Sometimes you hit it, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you hit it, but you become more of a SME. You are not a high growth startup. So it's not a mistake of anything. It's just that, you know, we try to be very big. Our vision is very big. When visions are big, then it's very hard to see, because it takes a long time to get very big. So yeah, so I think right now everyone's trying, but you know, I know, you know, the first 3 years of a high growth tech startup life, the valuation is an art, not a science.
Pak Rizky, same question. Do you see any change in value in how a company value startups?
I think it's the area of Jeffrey. I choose not to actually to address that one. Not my expertise.
Okay. And Sarah and William, any input? You obviously want your company to be highly valued.
Actually, I would like to ask then, going back to like by Jeffrey and Rizky, is that you mentioned that it's more of an art but how would you like, what makes a company investable, and you would immediately say, yeah, definitely we want to invest in that, and that what is considered a fair valuation with that? How would you look about and assess that? Because I mean, like, you've invested in several companies, and some of them, you know, right away you want to go in, and some you do not. What is it that makes a company investable versus not?
So number one is, I think it's very much related to visions and customer focus to me. Yeah. I think vision sounds like a very, very, you know, high, but it is actually very, very important what it actually the company believes in. And then how does it relate to customers? Because in the end, you need to serve customers. You need to make sure that you stay relevant to customers. Number two, of course, people. How is culture is built, and then what are the values of the people in the company? Why is that really, really important? Because it's not going to be a short 100-meter run, right? It's going to be a marathon, and you would believe in people that you think have the solid visions, but also has the spirit, attitude, and endurance to take the company's long run, not just for a short run. So that kind of, you know, traits would really needed to be visible. And I think, I believe that comes a lot with what Jeffrey says. It's hard to value that, you know, endurance and high spirit via video conference. I think you need to actually to have a face-to-face meeting to really, really assess that area. Number three, of course, because in the end, it comes to the investors' monies. You need to actually to be able to return it. You have to have the the comprehend the understanding that your business in the end has to be sustainable, and you need to have a solid plan to actually deliver that.
Okay, I'm going to open up questions from the audience. There's first questions to Pak William. Does IDN consider focusing more on a particular subject or market, considering the significance different in number of viewers?
Yes, core target audience will still be millennials and increasingly Gen Z, so that will still be our focus. Topics, we would go verticals by verticals. We entered the esport and casual gaming last year. We entered movie industry this year, so we take it vertical by vertical.
Okay, there are two questions for Pak Rizky. GrabCar recently cut 5% of its workers. Does this policy including cutting the drivers? And the next questions also, how Grab compete with the market leader in industry within the pandemic?
Okay, so number one, yes, that is true. We recently have to let go some of the employees. This very much in relation to the needs to focus, especially during this pandemic. It's really testing time, and we need to be able to actually to run the business that is relevant to the customers. So very, very unfortunate. It doesn't impact our driver partners, definitely. As you heard earlier in the presentations, we of course there's a changing needs of the customers, and then we cope with that, we reacted to that, and then we see what will be important for the customers. And of course part of what's in our mind is to ensure that our driver partners well-being is still there. Not quite sure of what your second questions, but definitely we are market leaders. I think in the transportation space right now, even in food delivery space, we are market leaders not only in Indonesia but also in Southeast Asia. We never aim actually to become a second best. We always aim for to be the best, and yet delivering sustainable business. And the key to that is that once again, stay focused to your customers, understand what the customers' feedbacks are, and then what are their priorities. So you know for sure where you should focus your resource, that in terms of people, technology, and process, in order to address what the customers thinks it's very much important for them.
Thank you. There's two questions. One question. I guess this is for William and Sarah. Startup relies heavily on technological literacy to navigate through the pandemic, but how are you helping those that are technologically illiterate?
I can add to that is because our business has always been serving the very bottom of the pyramid. So technologically savvy is never, you can never assume. And so what Mas Kiki was saying about being consumer centric and understanding what the needs are, these are the things that we take as a given and we cannot change. It is what it is in terms of, we know that they won't be able to sometimes even have phones, let alone smartphones, that we're supporting the elderly that are very old. There are children also and then so how do we do this? And what we do is we actually use technology as simply a tool and think about how we would be able to serve them effectively. And so that's why we came up with this Setor Muka or with a facial recognition, because then make it so extremely easy for people, even the very bottom of the pyramid with no education. We're able to serve people between the ages of 5 to 80 years old, and even the disabled and with Down syndrome. And it's made so we use technology to enable everybody with all levels of capability, with all levels of income, with any kind of situation, including a pandemic and even disaster, because we also help in disaster relief, is what happens if you lose all your belongings. But we adapt to that and make it usable. And so that's, I think, one that it is, we need to understand the actual situation, not the what have, could have, should have, but it is what it is. How do we serve them to the fullest? Yeah, using technology, but without technology.
Okay.
Yeah.
William?
For us, if we open our app, so we let people, our readers, to become a content creator. So they can write articles and actually get money. So currently we have thousands of reader turned writers who write in this platform. The top 10 monthly writers can get 2 to 3 million rupiah just by writing. It's on a performance basis. And I think the super top writer have cashed out from our platform about 50 million rupiah so far. So I think we want to grow this platform so that people who have a hobby of writing can channel their hobby while making a second income. So typically they would live in tier 2 cities. They have amazing writing skills. They work other jobs and they write on the side. So it's a double income for them. And of course, we are very inspired by Grab, because I know a lot of people who are working a day job and become a driver on the weekend to get that second income. Plus, of course, in our case, the more relevant case would be YouTube and Instagram. So if we become a YouTuber and Instagrammer, there are a lot of people who can make money out of that platform by creating useful, by useful I mean informative or entertaining content and making an income. I think when we are able to create that, that would be the ultimate goal.
Okay. There's one question to Pak Kiki. Considering the pandemic, how would you explain your strategy on convincing the offline intensive market, i.e. UMKM, to partner with Grab?
Yeah, I think it's quite challenging because actually the majority of the UMKM is still offline. Currently, there's approximately 64 million UMKM in Indonesia, and only few millions of them, I think less than 10 millions, are already part of the online ecosystems. I think it is not only Grab's responsibility. That's why we collaborating with government here and some other startups to run these initiatives. Bangga Buatan Indonesia is part of the UMKM revival toward digital ecosystems. These ecosystems, this digital platforms, we are hand in hand running what it's called, of course, a campaign to ask UMKM to actually jump into digital platforms. We will be having a program within Grabs to host several UMKM in order to actually to equip them how to actually to become a savvy digital players here. We will be running campaigns, whether it's a deep campaign toward certain areas of UMKM, or also a more actually a broader approach through online campaign in order to actually to reach out to many of them. In terms of product itself, we're equipping ourselves also to enable UMKM to be easier to get into our platform. In terms of Grab Foods, we streamline our onboarding process, making them easier to get into our platforms. We just recently launched what is called Grab Mart for UMKM also to be part of our UMKM digital ecosystems. Within Grab Food as well, we run what is called Jagoan Lokal. So what is Jagoan Lokal? It's a campaign that we run quite frequently to feature the local UMKM within certain areas. So people, for example, when you open Grab Foods, then you'll be able who are the Jagoan local in your areas, in which they have a certain a product strengths, but yet it's very in a close proximity. So those are some of the views that we have. We have many other initiatives to revive UMKM. But I know it's not an easy task, considering there's still many others that are still untapped. That's why we run this program together with the government.
Okay. Thank you. There's a question for Jeffrey. Do you see any changes in which industry you invest?
No. I think right now, I think there's just a few industries that stand out, like healthcare, education kind of stand out, right? And then certain kind of consumables stand out, but generally, no. I think, you know, VCs look at things much longer, like 20-year kind of thing. So there are still problems that still needs to be fixed, and sometimes it takes a bit of time to get there. So not really.
Okay. To William and Sarah and Pak Rizky, do you, as a result of pandemic, do you collaborate more with other startups?
Definitely, from our parts. We know that one of the very important one is logistics, right? We know there's a broken chains of logistics, whether it's foods, vegetables, or many others. Number one, we collaborate with offline startups. It's binaan Kementerian Pertanian. There's like 5 players in there that usually supplying basic foods, but now it's having a broken supply chain. So we take them into our platforms. We also in collaborations with many startups. One of them are Sayurbox. We integrate them into our platforms, enable people to actually to order fresh foods, fresh vegetables. I think it's a win-win collaborations. This very much is their core products. And for us, it's enabling to actually to provide more services to our driver partners, but also addressing what I called earlier, what is needed by customers.
Okay.
Yes, we also collaborate with many partners from a startup pool. From a health sector, it would be Hello Doc, Good Doctor. We believe in their products. We know that our audience would benefit in knowing about their products, telemedicine and drug delivery and everything else. But we also partner with Siloam Hospital Group, because we also know that people would still need to go to hospitals, but they're afraid. They didn't know that hospitals separate the section of dedicated to COVID and the regular ones. Not many people know that a lot of people died because they're afraid to go to hospital of being contracted and the likes of that. So yes, and since we are a content platform, so our role is to let people know about that good stuff, that useful stuff.
For us, we collaborate a lot with partners, but not as much with startups, but more with one is actually our community of small, medium, micro enterprises, and also with actually a lot of it is with organizations, especially like charity and organizations and also the government, because that is right now the ones who actually really need our services. Yeah, so and they also have for example an association of for digital aid and for that they've been trying to look for a solution, but then now we're collaborating very intensively with them, and it's like a group about 40 or 50 organizations, and we're trying to improve the solution going forward. And especially also with the government, we're offering our services actually for free, whether it is for the regional government or the national government. as a form of our contribution to helping with the situation. Yeah.
Okay. Last question to all the panelists. How do you fundraise during COVID? Do you postpone or do you still run it?
We don't, because it's not in the pipeline. And I think it would be best to focus on improving the business fundamentals.
Okay.
From grass perspective, we don't. I reiterate again, we are quite fortunate. We have quite sizable investment already recently, and now just focusing in our core businesses and delivering values.
For us, we are fundraising aggressively because now we actually have more projects than we could, than we have the runway for. So right now is actually where we're pushing to close fundraising very soon.
Jeffrey, your last words?
I think it's a few things. So if you are in the industry that is tracking well, and then, you know, I think the top 10% of the startups, you know, investors will still be hounding you. If you are facing some issues, then I think the first step is to go internal first, because if you go external, the terms are not going to be as good, right? So maybe look at internal terms first. And if internal they passed on it, then you have to go external. Then that's when you know, if you have more than one term sheets, chances are the terms will be all over the place, because right now it's a buyer's market, right? Yeah. So just go step by step, and if you have runway, then there's no rush to raise, because the terms are not going to be good anyway. So just chill for a while. Yeah.
Okay. I guess that's all the time we have for now. Thank you to all the panelists, and thank you to all the audience. Stay safe, stay healthy. Go Buffalo, go Trojans. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Donnie, as moderator as well. Nice.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you, audience.